Hey, what's up, guys? DarkArmedDuelist Integrity opening up some Structure Deck Albaz Strike, and I'm really excited to open this one for you guys because this deck is hands down one of the best, if not the best, Structure Deck we have ever gotten. This deck is absolutely insane with all sorts of amazing reprints like Effect Veiler, Ghost Ogre, and Snow Rabbit, and finally a common version of Pot of Extravagance, which is going to help out a lot of deck profiles to be even more budget. But it also has some really amazing new cards like Lubellion, Mirror Jade, and even Branded Fusion, which is an absolutely insane card that's going to have a crazy impact on the game. So without further ado, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can come part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like in your name description every single video, getting a signed card sent in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron, along with test hands. So without further ado, let's open these up, guys. This is crazy, and be definitely on the lookout for a $30 budget build on the channel very soon for this particular structure deck. So this deck is crazy. Let's take a quick look at the box. I love the color palette that they actually picked for this because Mirror Jade and Lubellion just look absolutely insane. I absolutely love their artwork. And it's just a really cool structure deck. We actually get 5 tokens in here, I believe, which is really, really cool. You have all sorts of really good reprints in here. And the ones that are notable to me, I see a Star Liege, I see Branded Fusion, which is a new card. And we even get Pot of Extravagance, Call by the Grave. As you guys know, that's one of my favorite cards. And Dark Ruler No More. This deck is just crazy. But let's go ahead and pop it open and see what's in here. Now that we've actually looked at the list, we know kind of what's in here, but you never get used to a common extravagance. So let's see what it actually looks like. So you get a really awesome mat. Let's take a quick look at that mat. Oh, you get a cool back of the mat. That's cool. So it actually like shows, it doesn't on all of the structure decks, but let's just take a quick look at it and see what the mat looks like. That is cool. That's really cool. I really like that one. I would love to actually have like a mat with both of those on it because those are just so cool looking. I really like this. This is going to do a lot. Like, this is going to change the game a lot. This is going to be super cool. So let's go ahead and take a look at the structure deck and see what we get in the structure deck. I can already see a Tri-Brigade card. That's going to be super interesting for what it does for the deck, because it's actually really, really good from what I've read about this deck. So let's go ahead and see what we get in the structure deck for all the new cards and all of these reprints. So right off the bat, we're getting a Tri-Brigade as an ultra rare. This card is actually really, really good. So let's take a quick look at its effect. It's very new, so let's go ahead and just read through the new cards. This card has the ability when an opponent activates a monster effect while you control a fusion monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz as a material quick effect, you can send this card from your hand or face from field to the graveyard and negate the activation, which is a really insane effect that this card is pretty much a hand trap to be able to stop your opponent if you control like Mirror Jade or one of those cards like that, which is really, really good. And it also has the ability, if this card is banished, then you can add from your deck to your hand 1 Fallen of Albaz or 1 monster that mentions it from your deck to your hand. That is a really good effect right off the bat, that you can use this with like Gold Sark to be able to banish it, and use it with all sorts of other cards in this deck to be able to banish this card to get a search. And you have the ability that this card is a hand trapper. You can get it back into the hand to negate stuff. So this card is a definite one of in the, or probably 3 of in the $30 budget build. Let's go ahead and see what else we get. We get Spriggan's Kit. That's really cool. This card is really, really good because it has the ability, if you have a fusion monster that mentions Fall of Albaz as a material on your field or in your graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand. That's already a really good effect to get you a level 4 1700 attack point monster, but it has a really awesome effect. Besides that, if this card is normal or special summon, you can add it from your deck to your hand. You can add to your hand 1 of your branded spells or traps that's banished or in your deck or graveyard, and then place 1 card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. This card is absolutely nuts and is a definite 3 of in the $30 budget bill. We're then going to be having a single copy of the Golden Sword Soul. They actually changed the name for this. I thought it was like Unlikely Allies of Sword Soul, but this card is kind of neat because it has the ability that when a monster clears an attack, you can special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, negate that attack. Then, if you control a fusion monster that mentions Fallen of Albaz as a material, then you can destroy the monster that declared an attack, which is pretty good. And if a monster is banished face up, except during the damage step, then you can banish this card from your field or grave, and then special summon a light spellcaster monster from your hand or grave, whose attack is equal to its own defense, and you can only use the effect of this card once per turn. This card's pretty good. I don't know if I'd play it in the budget build, but it's still a pretty neat card. We then get Mirror Jade. We got Mirror Jade. This card is so good and just such a beautiful card. It has a really awesome effect. It does take a Fallen of Albaz plus a Fusion Synchro XZ or a Link monster. Basically anything that you can summon from the extra deck, you can use to fusion summon this card. And you can only control one of this card, and then once per turn, a quick effect, you can send a fusion monster from your extra deck to the graveyard that mentions a Fallen of Albaz as a material to banish one monster on the field. And also, this card cannot use this effect the next turn, which is kind of good. It makes me think a little bit of Baron de Fleur, where it only gets it once, but it's really a good card because it is balanced a little bit where you don't get the effect every single turn. This card would be absolutely broken if you did, but it has the ability also that if this card is fusion summoned and its owner's control leaves the field because of an opponent's card, you can destroy all monsters your opponent controls during the end phase of this turn. That is really good right off the bat, that it just board wipes if your opponent destroys it. This card is insane. We then got Lubellion, the Searing Dragon. This card is super cool as well. I love the artwork. If this card is fusion summoned, you can discard a card to fusion summon a level 8 or lower fusion monster from your extra deck, except Lubellion, by shuffling fusion materials mentioned on the card into the deck from monsters on the field, graveyard, or face up that are banished. This card is really good right off the bat. And for the rest of the turn, this card cannot attack. Also, you can't special monster in the extra deck except for fusion monsters, and you can only affect this card once per turn. This card is really, really good. This card is super, super good, and a definite card that's going to see play in the future. We then have Branded Fusion. Branded Fusion is a scary card, and this card is just so good. Especially with Anaconda in the format, this card is going to be absolutely nuts. It has the ability to fusion summon one fusion monster that mentions a Fallen of Albaz as a material from your extra deck using two monsters from your hand, deck, or field as fusion materials. And the only downside to this crazy powerful card is you can't special summon monsters from the extra deck except for fusion monsters the turn you activate this effect. Okay, that's fine. I'll just activate this and then go into Dragoon, DPE, any of the other crazy powerful boss monsters that you can summon with this card, and then summon Albion, and then summon any other powerhouse fusion monster like Mirror Jade, Lubellion, any of those other cards. This card is going to be busted and just broken. This card is so good. We got Branded Sword, which is a new good card. Banish any number of branded spell or traps from your graveyard, especially with that many Ice Blade tokens. Dragon, Dark, level 8, 2,500 attack, 22,000 defense. Wow, that's a big token. And you banish this card from your graveyard and then target one of your banished monsters that is a Fallen of Albaz or that mentions it, and add that monster to your hand, and you can only use one of this effect per turn, which is kind of a good thing that it's balanced. You can only activate either or. We then have Fallen of Albaz, which is a new, which is not a new card, but this card is the card that the entire deck is based around. This card is super good and is a really awesome card to be able to use in this deck. We then get a Branded Retribution. We actually have more new cards, actually. Let's see. I think that was actually supposed to be behind this, but that's kind of neat. But Branded Retribution is a new card that has the ability when a spell or trap card or monster effect is activated that includes an effect that special summons a monster, return to the extra deck one face-up fusion monster you control or two fusion monsters in your graveyard that mention Fallen of Albaz as a material, and if you do, negate the activation. If you do that, destroy that card. And you can banish this card from your graveyard and then target a branded spell or trap in your grave, except another copy of this card, and add it to your hand. This card recovers Branded Fusion and is a counter trap. That's crazy. We then get Albion, the Shrouded Dragon. This card is kind of good for the deck. It's basically kind of like an upstart goblin for the deck because it has the ability that if this card, it becomes Fallen of Albaz, but it also has the ability that basically you can draw a card with if you use its effect, which is really, really good. This card's a pretty good reprint. We then got Fleur de Lis, which is kind of weird to see this card in common, but it's really good. Red Eye's Darkness Metal, that's a good reprint. Thunder King. Thunder King is a really good reprint because you get a new kaiju. Chaos Dragon Levenair, kind of a weird common. Like, I really like the secret rare version of this card, but I do like that this card has been reprinted as a common because it's just a really good chaos boss monster. We got another kaiju. We got the multi-dimensional kaiju, which is really, really good. Artifact Scythe, this card is insane and is just really, really good in this deck and just about every other deck that can play fusion monsters to go into DPE. But this card is really good because you can combo it with Back to the Front to be able to bring it back to your field, so you can basically just lock the opponent out of the extra deck. This is really insane. We then got White Dragon Wyvern Buster and Black Dragon Collapse Serpent. These are two really good reprints. They've been printed in common before, so they're really cheap already, but they're good reprints. Starliege. Starliege this is the first time it's ever been printed, I believe, in common. I think it's been a secret, and I think it's been an ultra. So this is the first time it's ever been printed as a common. So this is a really, really good reprint, and it's just super good as a Dragon Link card, but it's still a really good reprint for this structure deck. We then get a Keeper of Dragon Magic, which is still a really good card in any fusion deck. Summoner Monk, always good to have extra Summoner Monks. And then we get two hand traps, which is a Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit, which is already a really good hand trap right now, and an Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler has always been a good card, and is just a really good reprint for this deck to have two good hand traps that you can actually pick up from this structure deck. But what's really cool about this entire deck is you can actually pick up 3 of these, build a deck, and carry it to a locals, and you'd have a pretty good chance of topping, which is what's crazy. Omni Dragon Brotar is really good. Branded Lost is a really good card to be able to have in this deck, because the activation of cards and effects that include an effect that fusion summons a fusion monster cannot be negated, which is going to protect your branded fusion, which is really good. And also, your opponent can activate cards and effects when a monster is fusion summoned this way. And if you fusion summon a fusion monster, then you get to add a Fallen of Albaz or one monster that mentions it from your deck to your hand, which this card is a searcher as well, which is just really, really insane. We then get Branded in White. That's a pretty good reprint. Branded Bond. Fusion Gate. It's been a long time, I think, since this actually got a reprint, so this is pretty good. Fusion Recycling Plant. That's always a decent card. I played in some weird decks, but it's still really good. Fusion Substitute. That's like the newish version of Polymerization. Kind of weird that they didn't put Polymerization in this, but still we have some good stuff. We got Gold Sarcophagus. This card is neat to be able to combo with the Tri-Brigade card that's near. And then we have a Common Pot of Extravagance. This card is such a welcomed reprint. I'm so glad that they put this in here. It's such a good card, and it's like just so nice to finally have a common version of this card that's super affordable. Because when this card was released, it was like $60 and like $90 when it was first released. Then it got reprinted in like Toon Chaos, and it still was like $30. And then finally, now we have an affordable version that it's under $10, which is really nice. We then have Call by the Grave, one of my favorite cards. Hopefully eventually it'll go back to 2 or 3, but right now we just have a single copy of it. But it's still a really, really good card. Dark Ruler No More, that is a great reprint for this. Screams of the Branded, that helps out this deck a little bit. Judgment of the Branded, this is kind of like a one-sided Raigeki, because it has the ability that during the end phase, this card's in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn to activate the effect of a Fallen of Albaz. This turn, you can set this card to your field, and it has the ability also that you can target one level 8 or higher fusion monster you control and destroy all monster opponent controls with equal or higher attack than that monster, which is kind of cool to help board wipe the opponent. It's just a really good one-up in here. We then have Necrofusion. Necrofusion is really good as a reprint because you can use your cards in the graveyard to fusion summon. Back to the Front is a good reprint. Warning Point's pretty good. There can be only one. This is really neat for the deck because it's just such a powerful floodgate. D-Barrier so you can lock your opponent out of fusions while they're trying to go for all their different fusion plays. With Branded Fusion being out, this card is going to see play, and it's really good. We then get Waking the Dragon. Waking the Dragon is kind of neat because you can actually set this card with Scythe, and then if your opponent Feather Duster you, you're going to get a really powerful monster and lock them out of the extra deck, so your opponent's going to be a little bit wary from using Feather Duster against this deck. Titaniclad, that's a good reprint. We got with the Glory Dragon, that's okay. We got the Iron Dash Dragon, and then we got Albion. Albion is insane. This is going to be the main target that you're going to be summoning with Branded Fusion because it lets you fusion summon by banishing the targets, which is really good because if this card is fusion summon, you get to fusion summon one level 8 or lower fusion monster from your X deck except another copy of itself by banishing the fusion materials mentioned on that card from your hand, field, or graveyard. This card is literally a walking polymerization that's also a miracle fusion, and this card is just so good in so many decks with Branded Fusion. This card is a part of the engine and is definitely a card you're going to want to play with Branded Fusion. We then got some tokens for the last couple of cards. We got Albaz the Shrouded, Ecclesia the Exiled, Tri-Brigade, Ready, Aim, Fire. That's pretty cool. The Victorious Vassals, that's pretty good. And then Albur the Dogmatic. I love Albur's token. That's really cool. I actually really like all of these tokens. They're really neat for this deck that they actually included these that have a little bit of lore and just really awesome. We're actually going to get I believe we're going to get a playmat with these on them later on, which is going to be super cool and is just really, really awesome. This is a really good structure deck. This is probably one of the best structure deck in all the time that I've been playing. This is probably the best structure deck I've ever seen, hands down, with the reprints and how much of an impact it's going to have on the meta because of this one single card. This card is absolutely broken for the game, and it's just going to be so crazy to see what people do with this card. So that's it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Definitely be on the lookout for the $30 budget build of the structure deck Albaz Strike. And before we go, guys, I really quickly want to give a shout out to one of my friends, Ian, who actually hooked me up with these structure decks because I got them a little bit early, which is super nice to be able to get these structure decks. So I really appreciate Ian for, pointing me onto these. It was a really big help, and I really, really appreciate it. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Definitely comment down below what deck you're looking forward to building with these. I'm looking forward to building Despia and Shaddolls and all sorts of stuff with this, but there will be a $30 budget build with 3 of these structure decks coming to the channel very soon. If it's a little bit later out, it's probably already on the channel, and you should definitely check it out. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.